loggers are. And doesn't what's going on in Iowa just make you want to caucus? Just kidding. Mail-in voting is so much better. But what about online voting? Yeah, that's actually happening in Washington this year. And we're wrapping up our year-long story inside Oregon's only women's prison.
It's been a journey. Yeah, it has.
It's graduation day. Here's the story. All right, hello there. Welcome to the story with me, Dan Haggerty. So the Senate acquitted President Trump today. I'm probably not breaking that news to you. Truthfully, to be honest with you, I really don't have much more to add to that story. If you watch us here on the story, we'll tell you we only report big national stories if we find a local connection like this one. At the end of the State of the Union, while the rest of the world saw Nancy Pelosi tearing up the president's speech, Oregonians watched Senator Ron Wyden hustle to beat the traffic. We even highlighted him there for you. He voted today to remove the president from office, along with all the other Democrats. Now to our big story tonight, Cap and Trade 2.0, 2-Cap 2 Trade as I like to call it. Things are about to really start heating up in Salem with a logger rally planned for tomorrow. Let's bring in Pat Doris now. He's kind of our Cap and Trade guy. Now, we just said things are going to be heating up. Explain to us what that means. Why is tomorrow so significant?
Well, there will probably be hundreds, if not thousands, of loggers, truckers, ranchers, farmers protesting at the state capitol because they believe that Cap and Trade is going to cost them a lot more money, regardless of what any of the other politicians are saying.
So who are these people? I think that's something people are wondering.
Yeah, they're people who make their living off the land. They have older vehicles, and they are genuinely concerned. So just to reset this, we put together an explainer for you. Here you go. When it comes to influencing the public, it's hard to beat logging trucks circling Oregon State Capitol building. That's what they did last summer as Republicans and Democrats battled over the issue, and that's what they'll do again Thursday. Last summer's demonstration convinced logger Mike Peel and others that an organization needed to be built. You may have seen Peel on the show The Axemen. He's such a classic Oregon logger that the Trump campaign invited him to meet with Trump's campaign manager and Laura Trump when they visited the state in November. He's one of the leaders behind Timber Unity, a group that now boasts 53,000 members. The members will be there to let the public know they do not trust Democrats, the governor and others, who say rural Oregonians will be protected from higher fuel prices. That will be part of the new laws that reduce greenhouse gases. Instead, Timber Unity fears the laws will increase their fuel costs by 20 cents a gallon and then ramp up to as high as 70 cents a gallon. The group will release a 4-point plan of its own Thursday that it claims will cut greenhouse gases without any new taxes.
One of the big arguments they have is that Cap and Trade will negatively affect their personal lives a lot more than it will positively impact climate change or the planet.
Well, we looked into that argument, and turns out it's a pretty good one. Here's the math. Oregon is a small state population-wise. We put out 65 million tons of greenhouse gases a year. The U.S. puts out 6,456 million tons of greenhouse gases. So let's do the math. We divide 65 million by 6,456 million, and we find that Oregon accounts for 1% of the total U.S. carbon dioxide emissions. Globally, greenhouse gas emissions are around 36,800 million tons. That leaves Oregon's share at just 0.1% of the total. From a math standpoint, Oregon will not make a difference, even if it takes greenhouse gas emissions to zero.
And we're going to watch it all play out tomorrow in Salem. We will have people there. Where are you going to be tomorrow?
I'll be in Portland because environmentalists are having somewhat of a counter rally.
Got it. We got both sides covered for you. If you have questions for Pat or for us here at The Story, use hashtag #HeyDan. All right, thank you to Pat. We are getting a lot of questions from you guys at home about Cap and Trade, like these two on my Facebook page. Kyle Sorensen asks why Cap and Trade isn't being voted on by the people. And Ronald Sowerby wants to ask Democrats why they refuse to put Cap and Trade on the ballot since it's so important. Now, this is what we do here at The Story. We take your questions. We try our best to get them answered. So we asked Michael Denbrough, the Democratic chair of the committee with the Cap and Trade bill, why they don't want to put it on the ballot. He gave us a really long response, way too long for us to read the whole thing. thing, but we got some main points for you. First, Denbrough says voters elected lawmakers to tackle big issues like cap and trade. It's their job, so that's what they're doing. He also says the bill includes a lot of compromises, which means there's stuff people on both sides won't like. And if it's put on a ballot, Democrats are worried special interest groups will get in there and exploit that. And he says ballot measures are usually pretty simple. They have to simplify them a lot, and that this bill is way too complicated to put on a ballot. Denbrough also saying that we're facing a climate crisis, so they don't want to put this thing off. They say we can't afford to put cap and trade off to an election. But he says for those of you who really want to put this on the ballot, you can do that. We have the power to do that. So if you want to, you just have to get enough signatures. And that brings us to our quote of the day from Senate Republican leader Herman Bertschuger. We asked him why Republicans want cap and trade on the ballot. He says in a much shorter way than Democrats, quote, the bases are far too polarized to compromise on cap and trade. Let's refer it to the voters. Now, we love when you ask us questions. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. We're going to try and continue to get you answers. Just use the hashtag #HeyDan or leave a comment on my Facebook page. The caucus catastrophe in Iowa really made me think about how happy we should be about our mail-in ballots. Say what you will about Oregon politics, but we know how to vote. Former Oregonian reporter Gordon Friedman said it pretty well on Twitter. In Oregon, your ballot is mailed to you weeks in advance. You don't have to stand in line, and paper ballots are pretty secure. And that last word there, secure, is a really big one nowadays. We actually heard our election officials talk about this week a new security team that they've put together, and it's made up of a whole bunch of different agencies like the FBI, the Office of Emergency Management, the Oregon National Guard. And while it sounds pretty serious, they've actually got a pretty cute name.
Because the federal government likes abbreviations, Oregon has a TIGER team. TIGER stands for Threat Information Gathering and Election Resources.
I like it. All right, go Tiger team. And while we were on that topic, we did see a story in the Seattle Times we wanted to tell you about recently that caught our eye of the Tiger. Washington is experimenting with online voting this year on your smartphone in this teeny tiny little election. It's actually a volunteer position on the King County Conservation District Board of Supervisors. The winner gets no regulatory power, and historically voter turnout for this election has been like less than 1%, so the stakes are pretty low. But Washington's Secretary of State is still worried about a potential hack. We know that small targets are still targets. I mean, just think about what's happening in Tillamook County. In fact, for an update, let's check in now with old-timey news anchor Dan Haggerty.
Good evening. This is old-timey news anchor Dan Haggerty reporting to you from Tillamook County, which continues to crawl steadily out of the dark ages after ransomware clobbered their systems and rendered them useless. No emails, no phones, nothing. Authorities have hired an outside company authorized to negotiate with hackers to get the system back online as the county works steadily with the FBI. In Tillamook County, this is old-timey news anchor Dan Haggerty.
Thank you, Dan. The point is, anything online seems like it's vulnerable, and we're pretty happy, I think, with our paper ballots here. By the way, Washington used to use caucuses, just like in Iowa, to pick a Democratic presidential candidate, but this year they're going to go with the good old-fashioned mail-in paper voting. Washington's primary is next month, and Oregon's isn't until May. Now, we didn't send anyone from KGW to the Iowa caucuses, but we did kind of have a family connection there. Kyle Aboshi's two young sons interviewed some of the top candidates as cub reporters for a local Iowa newspaper.
How will you be able to get anything done with a Republican Senate, especially how this week they blocked witnesses for the impeachment trial?
It's a great question. There's a lot of bad faith obstruction going on right now in the Senate GOP, but here's what we have going for us.
I mean, come on. He also asked Amy Klobuchar, as you see there, about climate change and gun violence. This kid is amazing. He's a chip off the old block. I am struggling, though, slightly with the fact that he's already better than me.
It wasn't easy filming inside a prison.
I'm being recorded right now. You guys are all being recorded.
But we did it for months and months, following three women as they prepare for life on the outside, when the story continues.
Now to the conclusion of a KGW three-part series that's more than a year in the making. It centers around three women in prison preparing for freedom. They're getting help from the LIFE program. LIFE stands for Lifelong Information for Entrepreneurs, and basically it teaches women to build small business plans and helps them to build a separate plan to rejoin the real world. Maggie Vespa is part of a team here at KGW that followed Vanessa, Amy, and Mariah through the nearly 9-month course, and tonight she concludes our series, Life in Prison.
This is exciting.
After 32 weeks, a life milestone.
I was so nervous. Yeah. Can you tell?
Yeah. These 29 women have reached graduation day.
Where's your poster, ma'am?
Over there, the black and white and gray, the scale one.
And they're still not used to our cameras.
I'm being recorded right now. You guys are all being recorded.
If I can have y'all line up here.
It's time to line up.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sometimes you don't think anything's real until it's real.
Till it happens.
Until it happens, yeah.
That said, even after it happens, some are ready to go through the program again. And staff encourage it.
Well, I'm going to do the second year, so not that it's over, but this section is over, I guess.
And with that,
It did fly by. Yeah?
It's been a journey.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
it's time to graduate.
We're here today to celebrate you, to celebrate the LIFE program. We do feel that it's transformational. We've seen some incredible results.
Yeah.
Each graduate was allowed to invite one friend from inside prison.
Sammy, please, I want to bring you up here.
But one face wasn't familiar. Samantha Saucedo.
I was a LIFE graduate in 2015, as Lynn said.
Samantha was where these women are just 4 years ago.
So I believe in you guys.
Even after going through the LIFE program, it was hard readjusting to the outside. It was really hard going to those first job interviews.
I'm like, well, I was an inmate, and it just kind of like, I just lost confidence that day. And so I went on my way home. As I was driving, I just started crying, and I'm like, gosh, how long am I going to have to go through this? How long?
She remembers the business plan was great. The transition plan was invaluable.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, that's your lifeline when you get out of here. When I felt like I wasn't going to get a job, when I felt like I had no resources or anybody to turn to, I turned to that plan, because that plan had all the goals that I had made for myself in here. Just get out and do it. Kill those interviews and get those jobs.
The advice felt like a traditional graduation.
Lizzie.
So did this part. Big smiles, lots of photos, and speeches for those brave enough.
Okay, here goes my red face.
Our three didn't shy away.
This program gave me a lot of confidence for when I re-enter into society. 70 months is a long time to sit in one place.
Amy Lorenzo?
I got it.
I know before this program, it kind of seemed like a whole lot of anxiety, but this kind of gives me a map so that I can see where I'm going.
Vanessa.
Thank you, Heather. I'll take a photo.
Yeah, okay.
I appreciate the investment that's been, given to us, and I'm very grateful for each one of you ladies. You're all very inspiring.
And with that, graduation for Coffee Creek's LIFE program wound to a close. At this point, Vanessa, Amy, and Mariah each had months left in their sentences. Hard dates for most here depend on a number of factors, including the completion of drug treatment programs. But they're close, and now, for all the years they've spent here, they've got something to show for it.
No, you did good.
A plan.
Really good. Time is the most valuable thing that we have, and that being stripped from us is just, it takes a toll on people. My brother told me that time is the only currency that we have that we'll never get back. So to me, that makes it the most valuable.
Maggie Vespa joining us now in the studio, and this brings kind of a loose end to a year-long kind of period of your life doing this story. And I do want to say to everybody at home, thank you so much for weighing in on this, because this is exactly the type of storytelling that we want to see in reporting, we want to see here on The Story, because I think it's so important to understand one of these programs, but first you have to get to know these women, and I feel like our viewers really did. And a big development tonight is we find out that Vanessa is out.
Right, Vanessa got out 2 days before Christmas. She actually surprised her kids. She didn't tell them that she was coming home specifically on that day. And she's doing great. And I know that because I'm going to show you a photo now. I just hours ago saw her for the first time outside of prison since we wrapped. That's her and her 10-year-old daughter, Sophia. And Sophia is the one that she talked about in episode 1 who fought cancer years ago. So Sophia, first of all, is smart and funny. She's hilarious. She's cute. She's healthy. And Vanessa's doing great. In fact, she's enrolled to start college in April. She's going for a degree in social work, and she's already diving into the advocacy work that she talked about, especially in episode 2, really wanting to do. And I don't want to give away too much because we're going to reveal where I saw her and what specifically she was doing. It was so cool. That's tomorrow night.
Yeah, the reporting is not over here. I know a lot of you want to see follow-ups and learn what's happening next. I want to talk a little bit about the editorial process that we went through and that you went through when planning to do this. And I wonder if the people at home, if any of you even noticed, but there was a word that you specifically avoided while doing this story.
Right, the entire time writing it, I never said the word inmate. That was a word that we chose to leave out, and it's because Coffee Creek Correctional Facility has actually been working for a little over a year, if not 2 years now, to basically phase that word out of their operations entirely. You did see it on the clothes that the women were wearing. That's because they're working on replacing those clothes. But the prison officials actually advocated in Salem to change that word to adult in custody. And that's part of that mind shift that they want to help people go through to kind of take control of their own lives and have that autonomy. So there's no inmate in our writing. It was women or adults in custody.
Now, if this is the first time that you are seeing this series of stories, this is the third in 3 installments, obviously. And we want to tell people, where can they find episode 1 and 2, or if they want to watch all 3 in their entirety?
We have posted them in so many places. We have them on YouTube, obviously, on our YouTube channel. They're also embedded within the web story at kgw.com. They're on my social media. They're on your social media, the social media for The Story, because that's been the home for this series, and we're so appreciative. So go watch them, check them out, share them, and then send us your questions and your comments. We've been watching, we've been answering them as we can, and we're really interested.
Reach out to Maggie on Facebook, reach out to us here on The Story on Facebook, use the hashtag #HeyDan. Maggie, thank you.
You're welcome.
Some parents at a local school district are up in arms about what's between your legs. But you know what? Everyone poops. And in case you missed it, Kristen Severance asked your questions about undocumented students to Portland's superintendent. We're going to revisit that when The Story continues.
Hey, let's talk about the weather story, and who else to do that with than the man himself, the chief. So today is a very special day. It is National Weather Person Day, and you just happen to be a weather person.
Go figure.
Yeah,
what a coincidence. It's amazing.
Happy day.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There should be a National Anchorman Day.
Why isn't
they
there?
could get Will Ferrell out there.
I know. I can wear my fake mustache because I can't grow one.
Kind of a big deal. You know,
I smell like leather-bound books. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, nice. But yeah, I didn't wake up thinking about this, but somebody at work did. So they put it on Facebook and said, hey, if you have any questions, Facebookers, for our weather people, send them in. So they did. So we did. We got a couple of really good questions. So today is National Weather Person Day, and a couple questions for you. This one from Karen Watson. Karen asks, she says, I'm seeing more European models being used these days, and she means the weather models, not the fashion models. What do I like about it, and do I use one model more than the other? This is a great question because we do use the European model. It's really good at certain things, but I've also seen it perform poorly, like with Portland's snow situation. So the reason it's better is that they have a later cutoff time for the information that helps to start the model up. So the more information data they can get into the initialization of the model, the better they typically perform. Also, the physics are a little different. So I like it sometimes. If we're talking local, then I like to use more regional models like the one by the University of Washington. So it just depends on the situation, but the European model is a good one in certain situations. Naomi Pearson asks, Oregon has several different climate regions. Which is the hardest to forecast? Another great question, and the one that comes to mind first is the gorge. However, I have to say sometimes it's Portland because, like, if it's a snow situation, we know it's going to happen at the gorge. It's the Portland area that is most in question. So basically, this is tied to our very complex geography. I would say the Cascades and the gorge for that one. And then finally, Carla asks, what made me decide to be a weather person? I love snow. I love snowstorms. In high school, I loved getting snow days. I had a teacher that would draw weather maps on the chalkboard. I was hooked. Been drawing weather maps ever since. Dan?
Hey, man, I love that. I love smart questions. If you have more questions for Matt or for us, send them using the hashtag HeyDan. Thanks, Matt. So I want to tell you, Lake O is getting this brand new state-of-the-art middle school, but there are some parents who have a big problem with its design. The new Lake Ridge Middle School will have all-user, gender-neutral bathrooms with individual private enclosed stalls and a communal sink area. There's actually a petition trying to stop it right now with more than 750 signatures. Unfortunately for them, it's too late. Construction is already underway and the plans are final. That brings us to kind of a recommendation, something we think might be worth your time. It's a book called Everyone Poops. It's primarily for children, but I think it's a little bit of fun for everybody. It's basically, I don't want to, spoiler alert here, ruin anything for you, but it's kind of about how everyone poops. Give it a read. I think you'll like it. Hey, did you catch our show last night? We were on at a weird time because of the State of the Union a little later, but if you missed us, and you may have, Kristen Severance followed up on her latest Inside Woodlawn story about teachers and students being told a first grader got deported. She took some of your questions right to the superintendent of Portland Public Schools.
A lot of critics say having undocumented students in a school system is too much of a financial burden.
I know what's a drain on our country, it's ignorance. And so I can't think of a better antidote than making sure everybody actually has a well-rounded education.
So that is the superintendent's opinion. It is worth noting that no schools in the country can work with ICE to deport students. It's not just a Portland thing or an Oregon thing. It's actually a Supreme Court thing. You can watch the rest of Kristen's story and last night's show on KGW's YouTube page. We've also posted some of our favorite segments in the story playlist. We're going to read a couple of your comments when we finish the story after the break. As we read some comments tonight, we want to tell you we had an opportunity to speak with Senator Jeff Merkley this morning about all kind of things. We brought it up last night to you on Twitter and Facebook, saying if you had any questions that we would ask him and have him answer them, from impeachment to the president's acquittal to the State of the Union to climate issues. We did ask him your questions and we posted them online. We got a response from Lil Kel Bell saying, thanks for asking my question and tagging me in it. We appreciate Senator Jeff Merkley for representing the beautiful state of Oregon. I appreciate all of you. So we want to say we appreciate you and all of your questions. So keep using the hashtag HeyDan and asking him and we'll get them answered. I do have a little bit of fan mail I want to read you, son. I'm pretty excited about it. This is from Vicky. She says, the Dan report, or whatever it's called at 6, is disappointing at best. Haven't liked him since he started at the station. The new responsibilities aren't alleviating my displeasure. I want to be mad, but it's beautifully written, so I appreciate it. Thanks for being with us tonight. That, for now, is the end of the story.
This is